This is Jen with JB Partners. Welcome to our February webinar, The 3 Massive Mistakes You Make That Keep You Stressed, Overwhelmed, and Dreading Mondays. That's one of the things I hear a lot about, a lot from people when I talk with them around their stress levels. They're just like, oh, I just dread getting up Monday morning. So that's what we're going to talk about is the dreads. Of course, here's our disclaimer. I don't want you to take anything that I'm saying that contradicts any of your professional advice or medical advice you're getting from your caregivers. Make sure that you are always contacting your physician and your healthcare providers. So we are here to get smart and 3 massive mistakes people make that keeps them stressed, overwhelmed, and dreading Mondays. The reason you are getting invitations, oh, people are still coming in. Yay, that's exciting. Welcome, everyone. The reason you are getting this webinar, access to this webinar, is because you are part of our private Smart Club. And so with our Smart Club, every month, you get great tips and tools on how to reduce your stress underneath the SMART umbrella, which is stress management and resilience training. You get our monthly calendar on the first of the month. January was a happiness calendar. February was a love and connection calendar. March is, goals and luck. We're Irish here in the Butler household, so we have to do the luck of the Irish. You get discounts on our services, including our seminars, our private group where I answer all your questions and, help you with your specific stress. So that's why you're getting this. And we do ask you to please share if you know somebody, coworker, family member, neighbor, friend that is stressed, talks about stress, looks stressed, please let them know about our Smart Club. It is free and yet it is full of value. So I only have you for about 25 minutes, so I want to jump in. And this is where, stressed, overwhelmed, massive mistakes, oh no, right? People don't realize just what they do in their life that keeps them stressed, that keeps them in overwhelm. And so we're going to be talking about those. The first one is that we tolerate. What we tolerate, we give permission to. And tolerating is where you can, whether it's you bite your tongue or you swallow what you want to say, or you push down your emotions. We're in this era where we think that, it's too difficult to have opposing views of somebody, and we definitely don't teach our children how to express themselves in a debate format, a healthy debate format. So we're going to be talking more about, we're going to dive deeper into each of these 3 mistakes. But with what we tolerate, boy, people seem to be tolerating more and more and more. Second mistake is you choose to ignore the warning signs. Sometimes it's not even that you choose to, you don't even know what they are. So we're going to go through the warning signs. And warning signs are to protect you if you allow them. So imagine you're driving through a school zone or a residential area where there's kids playing, and you just plow right through or blow right through a stop sign. That stop sign is there as a warning sign to protect you, to protect the people around you. Same thing with the warning signs of stress. So we're going to talk about what the warning signs are because a lot of times people are unaware of those. But warning signs are there to protect you, just like the stop signs or the red lights. So are the warning signs around stress. And then the third massive mistake is going it alone. Doing something alone doesn't mean you have to go alone. I say this a lot to people. Just because you might watch TV alone doesn't mean, 1, that you're lonely, or 2, that you have to go through all of your problems alone. So there's a big difference there. And so we're going to break these 3 down. Now, if you do have any questions, for those of you attending live, please put your questions in the chat box. I'll get to those at the end if we have time. If not, definitely you can email me or pop over to the private group and we can talk about them there. So I love this picture about tolerate. This just reminds me so much of, probably what my face looks like when I'm biting my tongue, because we all do it, and where my eyes are probably bugging out and I'm biting my lips closed. So I love this little emoji guy. So when we tolerate, this is where we, um, and we tolerate for a variety of reasons. But when we tolerate, it increases our stress levels because we're not being authentic. We are just pushing things down and pushing them aside and foregoing what we truly want, believe, think, feel, right? Just our authentic, we're denying ourselves to be ourselves. And so, some of the big reasons why we tolerate is a lack of confidence. That when people lack confidence in what they say matters, or that anyone would want to hear their voice, or that their opinion matters, right? It's they don't even try to open their mouths to share and express because their internal voice is already shutting them out and shutting them down because internally they're saying in their head, oh, people don't want to hear what I have to say. Or, oh, I don't know enough about the information to participate. I don't want to look stupid. Um, Especially now with there's so much news cycle and so much information out there that it can be challenging to have conversations with people and appear knowledgeable about things when they could be, well, you could be talking about a story that was yesterday, and yesterday's news is definitely old news nowadays with 24 news cycle or um, and just what's going around. Just and news doesn't have to be globally, it can just even be within your own local community. So lack of confidence is one big reason why people tolerate. Another is to simply avoid conflict. And I want to highlight that younger generations, the younger the generation is, the more or the less skill sets they have in conflict resolution. And quite frankly, it's because of parenting. We shelter our kids, and I raised two millennials, so I'm part of I'm part of the problem as the parents because we don't want to let our kids get into an argument or get into a fight or uh, get picked on in any way. And so we as parents, where my mom or dad would have just pushed me out the door and said, go fend for yourself, uh, nowadays parents are very much saying to their children, no, 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 let me take care of that for you. And that is really doing a disservice for one's ability to stand up for themselves and to experience positive conflict resolution. I've read a few studies lately that parents are not even arguing in front of their children and arguing behind closed doors, which robs the children of seeing what healthy arguing looks like, or that everyone argues, even if it's not healthy, but also the conflict resolution part of that. So we tolerate more and more to avoid conflict, to not ruffle feathers, and because, quite frankly, people just don't have the capacity to navigate difficult conversations. Another reason why we tolerate is because people believe nothing will change anyway. Either you've said things before time and time again, nothing has changed, so why even bother anymore? Or you feel that you work for a company, an organization, a practice where you're a low man on the totem pole. No one doesn't even know who you are, or something along those lines. But you feel that nothing will change anyway because I'm just one person in a very large pond. And so we tolerate all of the things that go on around us. And what we tolerate, it doesn't necessarily always have to be work or at home with our kids or relationships. It could even just be driving down the road, what we tolerate. Anything that we tolerate, we bite our tongue, those things that frustrate us. It all triggers our stress response. And I'm, of course, as always here at JV Partners, I'm going to be providing you some solutions. So make sure you stay to the end. And I see there are already 2 questions. I'm actually going to get to those questions. And I'm not calling out names because some people are private chatting me. Um, I don't know if you mean to be private chatting me. If you would like to post it to the group, if you want a private chat, that's fine. Some people don't want other people to know who's attending. I totally respect that. Otherwise, just not sure if you know you were private chatting me. So another reason why people tolerate is that they're just plain old scared. They're either scared they're going to lose their job, they're scared of pissing somebody off and they're going to come back and hurt them. They are truly afraid of some sort of retaliation. And most of that retaliation is really harmful. They're not just thinking, "Oh, someone's going to get mad at me." There's a lot of people that I talk to, they're afraid that people are really going to come back and do something catastrophic. And so that's another reason why people tolerate things around them. We don't, a lot of times we don't talk to our neighbors. Here in Phoenix, this is weed season. And because we've had a little bit of rain and we're getting lots of sun. And so the weeds are growing. And, I was talking to a friend of mine who has a neighbor and the weeds are just growing and growing and growing. And I was like, well, just go say something to your neighbor. She's like, oh no, what if they vandalize my house? What if they key my car? And that's a lot of the mentality uh, that people have nowadays. Again, it goes to that avoid conflict. It goes to retaliation. It goes to, the time and energy. Oh, why even bother? Kind of thing. Another reason why we tolerate is that some people believe that other people are just plain old rude nowadays. That people aren't respectful at the core, that people have lost their morals, they've lost their ethics. And so, since they assume or believe people to be rude, they believe that to be the norm. And so they just tolerate that as normal now. We tolerate bad behavior nowadays. We are tolerating bad behavior everywhere, it seems like, because so often we are just becoming so desensitized to, especially because it's happening on such a global scale. We really have become desensitized to respectful behavior. And so if people are rude anyway, why say anything? And the last really big reason that we tolerate is that because it's just not worth it. When you get to the point where it's just not worth it, it's not worth my time, it's not worth my energy, the energy behind those words and that mentality is hopelessness. If you think about that, oh, I'm just not going to say anything because it's not worth, my life isn't worth it, or my work isn't worth it, my relationships aren't worth it. But that is the definition of hopelessness. And if you're at that point, hopelessness is an indicator of depression, where your stress is so chronic that there's a lackluster of life. And those are all really, really strong and powerful warning signs. And if you continue, I'm so proud that I was able to do that. If you know me, I'm not techie at all. And so that little guy with that sound, that's like the epitome. I was so proud when I was able to make that happen. But tolerating creates triggers our stress response because we actually see those things as threats. Fears, threats, and it triggers our amygdala, that triggers our hippocampus, that goes into our endocrine system and triggers our stress response, and then cortisol and sugar and everything else starts flowing through our body. And then this kind of stuff happens. This is just a very short list of the warning signs that happen when we're under stress. Now, I'm not talking about, you don't need to have chronic stress or be stressed to the max or stressed out or burnt out or whatever. Whenever you have stress, these things happen. It's the balance between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system, pardon me, the autonomic nervous system is the gas pedal. It's the go, 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 right? That's that fight and flee response that make us run. So when that gets turned on, our parasympathetic nervous system, sorry, I want to make sure I'm saying these right, is the brakes. And so imagine you're driving a car and you're flooring it and then you're slamming on the brakes and you're flooring it and you're slamming on the brakes. That is chronic stress. But sometimes, imagine though, you are going down the freeway and you are going 75 miles an hour and you never stop. Well, that still puts wear and tear in your car. So whether you just go, 90 miles an hour or you're the start, stop, there's wear and tear in your body due to the stress, and your body's giving you warning signs. When I talk to people, a lot of times, I was just talking to a business owner last week who was saying he has so much, he gets tension headaches all the time. And I said, oh, how stressed are you? He goes, oh, no, it's not stress. It's the muscles in my neck are tense all the time. I just have sinus stuff. And he just kept rattling off all these medical things. And I was saying, have you got other symptoms? Have you got some dry skin? Have you, you maybe not sleeping great? And he's like, yeah. I was like, dude, you don't have like a medical condition that's a physical ailment, because he was thinking he was talking about an ergonomic chair that was like thousands of dollars. And I was like, hey, join my Smart Club for free and let's see if we can help you with those tension headaches. He didn't even think that stress could be the culprit for the ailments his body was going through. Because people don't realize just how systemically stress impacts us. Because they don't know the warning signs of stress. Or another thing that happens commonly is that someone will be talking about, oh, I'm so stressed out, and this is how I'm feeling when I'm stressed. And another person will be like, oh, that's not how I feel when I'm stressed. I get this, and this, and this. Well, that's because no one has similar symptoms when it comes to stress, or 100% symptoms when it comes to stress. They might say, oh yeah, well, sometimes I'll get headaches, or sometimes I can't fall asleep. And so that makes people question, well, how stressed am I? Because other medical conditions have a very similar checklist of signs and symptoms because of the way that the condition is. And so it's easier to diagnose and easier to treat. One of the reasons why stress management and resilience training is so difficult for people is because there's not one size fits all cookie cutter program out there. You need to understand your own stress levels. You can't read a book. I'm sorry, but you can't read a book or listen to one podcast of how someone else managed their stress and do what they did and have it totally work for you. It will be helpful, of course, but totally work for you, it would be unlikely, because we are all biologically and physiologically different. So that's why it's important to work with a program that customizes and allows you to evaluate your own stress levels. and then put together a solution for you. So these are just some of the warning signs. And then the last one is go it alone. Be that one person's stress band. This guy is carrying so many things. I don't even know what's going on here. I mean, he's half computer, half music, half amplifier. I don't know. I wouldn't want to stand out in the rain with what he's got going on. But this sometimes is how people feel when it comes to their stress, is either they keep it to themselves because they're too embarrassed. They're embarrassed because they aren't able to manage what's coming at them in life, and they feel weak, or they feel like a failure, and they have all these distortive thoughts, and so they just want to be or feel like they have to be all the band. They have to play all the instruments, they have to sing all the songs, they have to be the recording artist or whatever that is, the sound technician, all in one. And they have to shoulder the burden themselves. And that is just simply not true. And as a matter of fact, going it alone is one of the biggest mistakes you can make that keeps you stressed and dreading Mondays. Because when we feel as if we're not alone, when we feel that there's support and camaraderie, when we feel, when we allow people to feel empathy and sympathy towards us for what's going on in our lives, we then actually start to combat stress physiologically and biologically at the hormone level. So those are the three biggest mistakes and a little bit about them. So let's talk about the solution. And what the cycle, this is, the little symbol is that this is all one giant cycle, right? So you tolerate something, which then increases your stress, it triggers your stress response, which then you have warning signs that you either don't know about or you choose to ignore because you feel like you need to be a one-man band, which you tolerate that, which then that triggers your stress. I mean, it is just a full cycle. So I love this little guy. Who's awesome? You're awesome because you're all here. So tolerate. One thing you got to do is, or one thing I invite you to do, not that you got to do, one thing I invite you to do is to make a list of all the things that piss you off. So this should be easy. Ask yourself, what frustrates me? What frustrates me at work? What frustrates me at home? What frustrates me throughout the minutia of my day, while you're driving, while you're doing laundry? Just having rage or having frustration or hopelessness because, oh, I've told my husband 17 times not to put that there and he already does, so why bother doing it again? That just chips away at your relationship and will lead to something bigger. Anyone if you've been in relationships, you know that is true. So make a list of all the things that frustrate you. And where do you bite your tongue? And who do you bite your tongue with? And what do you replay at night? What do you say? Oh, I should have said that. Or if I just had a few minutes, I could have done that instead. And all of that is an indication that you're tolerating. And make a list. Because unless you know what is driving you crazy, what you are tolerating, you cannot change it. For example, I tolerate my husband's driving. And I have had to really think about why it bothers me so much. And I had to look for the gifts and blessings about what his driving does for me, because he's a very methodical driver. He's an extremely safe driver, drives the speed limit. He just drives very cautiously. And so I can even feel myself getting a little frustrated about when I think about it. I get exasperated. However, in my mind, I say, we always arrive safe and sound whenever my husband's driving. The cars are always safe and sound whenever he's driving. People around us are safe. It also is a gift and a blessing when he drives because we drive a little bit slower, and that gives us time to talk a little bit more. or I get to listen to music a little bit longer, or I get to look out the window and take in the world around me. And that's what you do with this list, this tolerate list that you make, is then you look for the gifts and the blessings. You look to see how you can change your perspective around the item or whatever's frustrating you. And if you can't change your perspective about it, what can you change? Do you need to go have a conversation? What do you need to do then to make that change? A lot of times, though, if you look for the gift and the blessings, then you will definitely have a different perspective, and you won't be there'll be no need to tolerate because you'll be enjoying yourself. Okay, what to do with the warning signs? Well, first of all, you need to find out if you really are ignoring them or you don't know you have them. And so when you know your symptoms, you can label your condition appropriately, and then you can create a treatment plan and execute that plan. So I invite you to take our assessment. It's at our website. It's also in the newsletter that that you found the link to this webinar, and it's our stress symptom checklist. And we have about 50 items on there, and that's not even all of the warning signs that we could put on, but they're definitely the most common. And so when you see in black and white all of the potential warning signs that you have, it can provide you evidence or facts about your stress levels. And is what really going on? Is it, dry skin could be some sort of thyroid issue, a skin issue, or a stress issue, right? We don't know. And I always wonder, I always find it so interesting that people will go see medical doctor after medical doctor after medical doctor searching for an answer for something. And yet, when it comes to, hey, could it be stress induced? So many people are like, oh no, gosh, it can't be that. I run into that a lot. So it always makes me stop and go, So now what to do with Golden Alone? I would love for you to share with us. Share with us in the private group. There'll be a link in the newsletter on how you can join the private group if you want to. You have to. It's through Facebook, and you have to, like you do many groups. It's safe and secure, and people cannot search the group. And I have to approve you. And the reason that we invite you to share with us is because we listen to you. We mirror back what you're saying, and then we want to help you we want to help you find your solution uniquely for you and provide tools and resources that will apply uniquely to you. It would be great if you talked to family and friends, and that's wonderful and lovely, and that absolutely is a coping method, is to have a support network. This is what happens sometimes, though, and I'm sure you all will be able to recall some experiences, is that when you're talking to a friend, a family member, and I even do this. I did this to my sister the other day, and I knew it in the moment that I did it. Someone is sharing some frustrations with you, or they're venting to you, and then all of a sudden you turn and go, oh yeah, me too. Let me tell you about my day, or let me tell you when that happened to me. And then all of a sudden you've totally zapped their energy, and now it's become all about you. And it's human nature to connect with people in lots of varying experiences. But when you are suffering from stress, or when you are wanting to change your stress levels, it's really important that you're talking to people that just don't validate that, yeah, life sucks, or yeah, work is terrible, or oh yeah, me too kind of thing. That's great. I want you to have that. You need that, as well as talking to other people. So connect with us. My email, of course, very dry. Info@jenbutlerpartners.com. You can also call us 904 420-0434. And we are about out of time. This is me. I want to tell you about our next webinar. It's happening March 11th, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. This is after daylight savings. Arizona we do not follow daylight savings. So we are always Mountain Standard. So the rest of you, unless you're in Arizona, you're going to change. So when you register for the webinar, make sure you select your time zone so it gets posted in the right for the right time on your calendar. We are going to be talking about the 10 best ways to reduce stress now. So how to reduce stress at your desk, in the car, in a moment. So this is me. I'm Jen Butler, if you don't know what I look like. And I thank you so much for joining me tonight. Share. Help get our message out to the world. And thank you so much. Have a great evening. And I will look for you all in the private group.